Every tile in this house was paid for by her hands. Every wall, every room, every corner. Amara bought it all. She knew the weight of each brick because she had carried the money for it on her back, season by season, market by market, long before Darius Williams ever understood what it meant to build something from the ground up. The roof above them, hers. The gate at the entrance, hers. The soil beneath the foundation, purchased with money she had counted out in small denominations on a wooden table in her mother's kitchen before she was 25 years old. And now her husband, Darius, was in her bed with her closest friend, Monique. The very bed Amara had chosen, paid for, and draped in good linen from a shop she had visited 3 times before deciding. That bed was the altar of her humiliation. She stood at the doorway and let the silence settle over her like a second skin. She did not move. She did not call his name. She did not slam a single thing. She stood and she looked at what had been built on top of her, and she breathed. One day, she told herself quietly, all of this will be over. Not with screaming, not with tears, with time, and with what she already knew, and with what she had already begun. Darius, you're home early. Amara looked at him without blinking. Her voice was flat, stripped of everything except the one word that mattered. Get out of my bed. Monique laughed from beneath the covers and turned to Darius with the kind of smirk that only arrives when someone believes they have already won. She was not afraid. That was the first mistake. She said, my bed. Isn't that adorable, baby? Darius rubbed his chest and sighed the way men sigh when they consider inconvenience rather than sin. He looked at Amara the way one looks at furniture that needs to be rearranged. Not with hatred, which would have required him to feel something, but with the flat assessment of a man who has already decided. Monique, the cramps again. Just give her a minute. Amara felt the word cramps land in her chest like a splinter, like something inserted to cause pain in a place that should have been safe. Monique had been her friend, not an acquaintance, not a colleague, a friend. A woman Amara had fed in her kitchen, driven to the hospital when her mother was sick, held in the dark after the kind of grief that hollows a person out. She had not just trusted Monique, she had chosen her. She had brought Monique into this house with her own invitation, with her own open hands, because she believed in the kind of friendship that doesn't count its debts. Then you should have been a better friend, Darius. Darius looked up, genuinely surprised that Amara was still speaking, as if he had expected tears already, or silence, or both. He had underestimated her before. He was underestimating her still. What? You want me to apologize for what? For choosing better? Monique sat up straighter in the bed, pulling the sheet around her like a queen receiving visitors. Her chin lifted in the way of women who have borrowed another woman's crown and convinced themselves it fits. She tilted her head, and she looked at Amara the way you look at something that used to be in your way. He chose better, Amara. Accept it and move forward. This is my house now. You cry and he doesn't even flinch anymore. You noticed that, didn't you? That he stopped reacting. I noticed too. I noticed it before you did, actually. He used to tense when you raised your voice. He doesn't do that anymore. Not with me. And I'll keep him. I'll keep everything. Your home is already gone. What you thought was yours has always been mine. I just had to wait for the moment to collect it. Amara looked around the room slowly. The dresser she had chosen, the curtains she had hung, the photo on the wall that she had framed herself, a photograph from the first year of their marriage, when things were still honest, when Darius still looked at her like he was grateful. Then she looked back at him. It's my house, my bed, my woman, that is what you said on our wedding day. You put your hand over your heart and said, my woman. So tell me, Darius, what exactly is yours? Darius stood and straightened his shirt with the practiced ease of a man who had rehearsed this moment, or a version of it, in his mind for long enough that it felt inevitable rather than chosen. Wife. You call yourself a wife. A wife stands beside her husband at events without making him feel he needs to explain her. A wife doesn't carry the smell of tomatoes and sweat to the dinner table where his colleagues sit. A wife knows when her presence is helping and when it is not. If you want to be called a wife, then you need to act like one. Amara's jaw tightened. She had heard that sentence in 1,000 different ways over the years, from his mouth, from his eyes, from the way he introduced her at gatherings with a small, apologetic smile. This is Amara. She runs a stall at the market. As if her work were a hobby rather than the engine that had funded every room they were standing in. She had let the words slide off her each time. She had chosen not to argue in public. She had chosen her battles carefully. But she had been choosing them, and she had been counting. The market smell doesn't wash off with hope, Darius. She turned and walked out of the room. That night, Amara sat alone in the kitchen, one hand resting flat on the table, the other pressed gently against her stomach. She had not told him yet. She had been waiting for the right time, the right version of him. The version that used to come home and eat whatever she had cooked and say it was good even when it wasn't. The version that used to fall asleep with his hand on her back. She was waiting for the man she had married, and she was beginning to understand that the man she had married had been making his exit for years now. Slowly, incrementally, in ways she had decided not to see because the alternative was too much to carry. She thought about all the years she had poured into him. His first year in the city, when he could not afford rent, and she had given him money from her market savings without telling her mother, because her mother would have told her to keep it. His first business, the logistics idea that sounded impossible and turned out to be just possible enough. She had been the one to wire the first capital, 20,000 naira at a time, through an account he never knew the name on. She had been the foundation, and she had let him believe he was the builder. She had done it on purpose, because she loved him. And because love sometimes looks like letting someone else hold the credit. That child, Darius, he has options now because of everything I gave him. Everything I had, I poured into him. And he stands in my bedroom and doesn't even see it. I am carrying his child, and he looks at me like I am nothing. He believes the world begins and ends with him. She pressed her hand harder against her stomach. The baby was quiet tonight. She talked to it sometimes in the kitchen, low enough that no one else could hear. She told it things. She told it who it was coming from. She told it to be patient. The following week, Darius brought home guests for dinner. Business associates from the city, men in expensive watches and women whose handbags cost more than Amara's monthly market earnings, who filled the living room with their laughter and the kind of confident noise that signals money circling money. Monique was at the center of it all, dressed in silk that caught the light when she moved. Her voice modulated to the exact register of a woman, auditioning for a title she had decided was already hers. She directed the domestic space with the casual ease of someone who had practiced. She told the houseboy where to place the flowers. She offered drinks before anyone asked. She laughed at the right moments and leaned in at the right moments. And not a single person in that room questioned who she was. "Sandra, my dear, you look stunning this evening. Have you eaten enough?" Darius told me everything. It's a blessing that he found someone with your refinement. Amara was in the kitchen. She had been cooking since the afternoon, the kind of cooking that requires preparation, patience, timing. The pepper soup needed 2 hours. The fried plantain needed to be done last, hot and fresh. She had learned these recipes from her grandmother, and she had cooked them in this kitchen for every significant occasion since the house was built. She stood at the stove and she cooked, and the kitchen stool had been placed deliberately at the far end of the counter. Not by her, she had not moved it there. Away from the gathering, away from the conversation, as if she were staff, rather than the woman who owned the walls around them. "Not bad," one of the guests said, lifting a spoon of broth that had found its way to his bowl through Monique's instruction. Almost like real cooking. He thinks this is his house, Amara thought, watching through the half-open door. She moved the pots carefully and said nothing. "Your wife is a lovely woman," one of the men said to Darius, smiling broadly in the direction of the living room where Monique sat. Darius laughed in the way of men who are both embarrassed and entertained, who know something is wrong and have decided the humor of the situation is easier to inhabit than the correction. Lucky man, truly a lucky man. Then one of the older guests, a man with silver temples and the manner of someone who still believed in courtesy, stepped into the hallway and found Amara standing near the stove, wiping her hands on a cloth. "Excuse me, are you the help?" Amara looked at him steadily. She did not flinch. She did not rush the answer. "I'm the wife." The man blinked. He looked at her apron, at the cloth in her hands, at the kitchen behind her, and then he excused himself quietly and returned to the living room. A moment later, Amara could hear the lowered voice traveling through the wall the way all whispers travel, further than intended. "That woman in the kitchen, she says she's the wife." Then came Monique's voice, bright with amusement, shaped for an audience. No, the wife is the one in the dress. The one in the kitchen, she's just a market woman. She handles the cooking, the cleaning. Don't let it confuse you. She'll handle the cleanup. Don't worry about her at all." Laughter erupted from the room. Easy, rolling laughter that had no edge because none of them felt any risk. They were not laughing at something cruel. They were laughing at a misunderstanding that had been staged for them, and they did not know enough to know the difference. Amara set down the spoon. She straightened her back. She looked at the wall between herself and the room full of people eating her cooking. She breathed in through her nose and out through her mouth. Slowly, the way her mother had taught her to do when she wanted to say something she would regret. And she said nothing. "You heard them," Monique said, drifting to the kitchen entrance a few minutes later, her silk brushing the doorframe as she leaned against it. "They think I'm the wife. You might want to dress the part if you want anyone to believe otherwise. But then, maybe there's no part left for you to dress for. Maybe the role has been recast." More laughter from the living room. Amara did not answer. She stirred the pot. She turned down the flame. She served the food that fed them all. By the end of the evening, one of Darius's colleagues, a younger man named Tunde, who had arrived late and had not been briefed on the arrangements, found his way to Amara again and spoke to her with genuine respect, the kind that had not been contaminated by context. "Madam, you should be proud of your husband. He built all of this from nothing. To the future, the company, the contracts, the expansion, truly remarkable, from nothing." Amara smiled at him with her eyes. "From nothing," she said. "Yes, that's exactly right." She returned to the kitchen and began washing the dishes that Monique's hands had never touched. 2 days later, Darius's mother arrived. Mama Cecile was a large woman with a precise tongue and opinions she had been sharpening for decades. She arrived with 2 bags and the energy of a woman who had already decided what she was going to find before she walked through the door. She moved through the house within 20 minutes of arriving, as if she were inspecting a property she intended to purchase, trailing her fingers along the top of shelves, testing the softness of the sofa cushions, peering into rooms that were not yet hers to peer into. She ran her finger along a shelf, looked at the curtains Amara had chosen, then at Amara herself, and made a sound in the back of her throat that contained an entire verdict. "You look well," Mama Cecile said to Monique, who had come to greet her at the door, with a warm embrace and a glass of fresh juice, wearing one of Amara's house dresses that she had borrowed weeks ago and never returned. "Monique is feeding me properly. This house is too fine to be shared the way it is currently being shared. A house like this deserves a single purpose, a single household. Order." She then turned her attention to the sleeping arrangements with the directness of a general issuing orders on a map. "I need the master bedroom arranged properly, Mama. A woman of her quality needs her own space. You deserve a proper guest room. I'm working on it." "You know how to support a man," Mama Cecile said to Monique, patting her hand the way she had never once patted Amara's. Unlike some. "Mama, she's trying," Darius began. "She is dragging you down, Darius. A man of your standing doesn't need a woman who makes him apologize for his own ambition. Monique belongs in the master bedroom. Amara can take the guest room. She'll be more comfortable there. It's a practical arrangement." That same evening, Darius came to Amara, where she was sitting quietly in the guest room doorway, reading the kind of book she read when she needed to remember that the world contained more than this house. "Pack your things. You're moving to the guest room." Amara looked up at him. She did not shout. She did not cry. She did not list every reason why what he was saying was obscene. She picked up her book, her small reading lamp, and what she needed, and she moved to the guest room without a word. Because she was counting. Not days, not insults. She was counting something they couldn't see yet. Something accumulating in the dark the way water accumulates behind a dam. Patient, quiet, and building. Mama Cecile returned the following morning with something she had brought from home. A piece of fabric, a wrapper from her own village, the kind worn by women of standing at ceremonies and dedications, and the kind of occasions that mark a woman as belonging to a family. It was the kind of gift that should have gone to Amara on the day she married Darius. It had not. Now Mama Cecile presented it to Monique at the breakfast table with both hands and an expression that was entirely sincere. "I brought this from home. I want to see you wearing it in this house. Look at you. Fine skin, fine hands. This is what I wanted for my son. This is the kind of woman I prayed for when I was still young enough to get on my knees and pray. I am just grateful, Mama. I didn't expect any of this." "Don't expect. Deserve. You deserve to be here. You've made this place feel like a real home. I walked in yesterday and for the first time I thought, yes, my son has a home." Monique lowered her eyes in the rehearsed way of a woman who has practiced the performance of humility. "I just added a few touches. The house had potential. It just needed the right woman." "Mama," Darius said carefully, in the voice he used when he was not quite willing to correct anyone, but felt the need to try, "that woman is still my wife." Mama Cecile looked at him without warmth. The look of a mother who has made a decision and is not interested in reopening it. "Maybe I should leave," Monique said, rising from her chair with theatrical reluctance. "I don't want to cause trouble. I never wanted that." "Sit, my daughter. You are not going anywhere. You see that?" She would rather walk away than face what is right. That is not humility. That is guilt pretending to be grace. "Sit down, Darius. Watch what a real woman does in a kitchen. This is what I taught. His grandmother's recipe. The way it was meant to be made, in a house where the woman knows her place and her power at the same time." "Teach me everything, Mama," Monique said. "I will. You are my daughter now. Darius, Monique, and me. I live here too now. This is our home. This is how it should have been from the beginning." In the guest room that night, Amara lay on the bed and pressed her back against the wall and listened to the three of them in the kitchen below, laughing, eating, finishing each other's sentences, the sounds of a household that had been waiting to arrange itself around the absence of her. She thought, they sound like a family. They sound like I was the thing standing between them and this life. Like the house itself had been waiting for me to leave so they could finally begin. Like everything she had built was simply a stage set, and the real production had been waiting behind a curtain, and now the curtain was being drawn. She put her hand on her stomach. The baby moved. "Stay still," she said quietly, "not yet." Mama Cecile did not come just to visit. She arrived with a plan, and she executed it in the way of women who have been waiting for a long time and have learned to be efficient about it once the moment arrives. "I told you Monique was the right woman," she said to Darius late that night, after Amara had gone to the guest room and the house had settled into the particular quiet of a place where everyone is pretending not to be in conflict. "You took too long to listen to me." "I've been saying it since last year," Monique said beside him. "Since before you even knew." I didn't just come to visit, Mama continued. I came to make sure it gets done properly. No half measures, no lingering. You did well today, but the job is not finished. She is still in this house. A woman with no place at the table doesn't stay long. Darius won't throw her out directly. Darius does what I say when it matters. We don't need to throw her out. We make her leave on her own. She sleeps in the guest room. She eats alone. We reduce the space she occupies until there is none left. Make it worse. Not cruelty, because cruelty can be documented. Cruelty can be seen. Discomfort. Targeted, consistent, invisible discomfort. And the baby? Monique asked. She let the words sit there for a moment, testing it. A child needs a stable home. A child needs a mother who belongs where she is. By next month, there will be only one woman in this house, and that woman will be you. I know what to do, Monique said. That's what frightens me, Mama Cecile replied, without explaining. At 2 in the morning, Amara sat on the edge of the guest bed with her phone in her hand and her sister Yvonne's number on the screen. She sat like that for a long time before pressing call. She had been trying not to call. She had been trying to handle this alone because she was the kind of woman who handled things alone, who had always believed that the ability to carry a thing by yourself was a form of dignity. But the guest room was small and the night was long, and she was tired in the bone. It rang twice. It's me. It's 2 in the morning. I know. I need to talk. About what? You know about what. Then talk. They're trying to make me leave my own house, Yvonne. I told you he was no good before the wedding. I said it. I said it at the engagement party. I said it 6 months in. I said it when he stopped coming to Christmas dinner. I told you. Don't start. You didn't listen. I know. You know. So what are you still doing there? It's not that simple. It is. Walk out. I'll send someone. You'll be home by morning. This is my home. Then why does it feel like you're the guest? There was silence on the line. The kind of silence that says both things at once. That the person is still there and that they have no answer. I love him. I know you do. That's the problem. That's not a problem. That's why I'm still here. And what reason does he have for being there? You left everything for him. Everything, your savings, your time, your credit. You signed guarantees in your name for a business he calls his own. He wasn't always like this, you say. Maybe that's true. But who he was before doesn't cancel what he is now. There was a time he was kind. There was a time, this is now. I can fix this, I can reach him. There is still something in him that knows what this is. Reach him, the man who moved another woman into your bed, the bed you paid for. Amara, listen to yourself. If I just have time. Time for what, Amara? He's not coming back. He's already gone. He just hasn't left the building yet. He is standing in your house like a man who owns it, and he is gone. Give me a little more time, please. You're begging me for time in your own house. You sound like a woman who's afraid to leave. I'm not afraid. Then why are you calling me at 2 in the morning instead of packing your bags? There was a long pause. Amara heard Yvonne adjust the phone. Sit up in bed, take a breath. Take care of yourself and that child you're carrying, Yvonne said, softer now. I know everything about you, Amara. Everything that matters, and nothing happens to that baby. You hear me? If anything happens to that baby, I'm not calling, and I'm not waiting. I'm coming, and he will answer for every single thing he has done and allowed to be done. Nothing will happen. Make sure of it. Amara hung up and sat in the dark for a long time, alone with the sound of the house settling around her and the small, persistent movement of her child, reminding her of what she was still carrying, what she was still protecting, what she had not yet let them take. The next morning, Monique came into the kitchen and said, without looking at Amara directly, because she had stopped looking at Amara directly, as if eye contact would have required a different kind of honesty. Monique makes the tea now. We don't need your market food anymore. The household has changed. That market feeds this house. It fed this house before you knew the address. It fed this house, past tense. Monique feeds it now. That's the present tense. That's what you need to learn to live with. I think this kitchen suits me better anyway. Amara looked at her without anger, with something quieter and more lasting than anger. You have no shame at all. You're right, my daughter, Mama Cecile said from the doorway, still in her sleeping wrapper, already managing, already orchestrating even before breakfast. Tomorrow we put the market basket away. There is no reason for it to be in this house. No reason to leave with it. No reason to come back with it. And the room, move her out of the guest room. Move her to the couch. A couch is already halfway to the street, and the street is where this situation ends. She might complain, Monique said. To who? Darius doesn't hear her anymore, and I certainly don't care. She has no one left in this house who listens. Pack your things, Darius told Amara that afternoon, appearing in the doorway of the guest room with the blank expression of a man executing an instruction rather than making a choice. This is Monique's room now. Amara stood in the center of the guest room. She had already been moved once. She had carried her things from the master bedroom to this room with her own hands, without asking for help, without making a scene. Now they were taking even this. Pack it up. This is my room. It was your room, yes. Now it's my closet. A woman needs space. You understand about needing space, I assume. I am not moving to the couch. You really want to have this fight with me in my own house? My house, Amara said. Move. You took my bedroom. You took my husband. You sat at my table in front of my guests and pretended to be my replacement. Now you want me on the couch like furniture you're storing until you decide what to do with it? I took what was available, Monique said, from where she stood in the doorway, behind Darius, her arms folded. Now take your market basket and whatever else belongs to you and leave this room. Darius looked at Amara with eyes that had gone very far away. She's too stubborn, Mama Cecile announced, entering the hallway with the authority of a woman who considers every room hers. Your wife is refusing again. She won't give Monique the space she needs. Why does she need the entire guest room? For her wardrobe. A woman of Monique's taste needs proper space. Her things are beautiful, they require care. Tell Amara to move to the couch. The couch is fine, it's temporary. She won't listen to me. Then I will tell her myself. Get your things. Darius, Amara said. She used his full name the way she had always used it, not as a weapon but as a call. I am pregnant, I need a bed. And Monique needs a closet, move to the couch. You are putting a woman's wardrobe above your own child's comfort. Don't use the baby to manipulate me. I see what you're doing. I am telling you what is happening in this house. The truth is this house is too small for your drama right now. Couch now. We're done talking about it. Let me help you carry that, Monique said pleasantly, stepping forward and reaching for Amara's bag with a smile calibrated to perform generosity. Don't touch my things. I'm just being a good host in my house. Your house. Look around. You're sleeping on the couch. The guest room is mine. The master is mine. The kitchen is mine. The table is ours. You are sleeping on the couch. How temporary does that sound to you? So are you, Amara said, temporary. Make sure you fold the blanket during the day when you wake up. We have guests this week, and I don't want the living room looking like a shelter. I am not a maid. No, a maid gets paid, you just take up space. The couch is too comfortable, Monique said to Mama Cecile that evening, the two of them in the kitchen like architects reviewing a plan in progress. She's stubborn. She'll adjust eventually, but she's stubborn. Give it time. Her back will hurt soon enough. The pregnancy will make the couch unbearable by the second week. But we don't wait for comfort to fail. We begin the renovations tomorrow. Right in the living room. That should make the couch itself uninhabitable. The next morning, Amara was still half asleep on the couch, her knees pulled up, and her wrapper tucked around her, because the living room was cold before sunrise, when Monique appeared with two men carrying tools, and the attitude of someone beginning a project she had been planning for a while. Up. The workers are here. Move your blankets, they're ripping up the floor. I was still sleeping. Yes. Now you're not. You'll need to take a few of your things to storage. I have nowhere to put them during the work. That's not my problem to solve. That's not my problem, Monique said, and turned to direct the workers. The noise was constant from that morning forward, drilling that began at 7 and did not stop until 5. Hammering, the grind of tile being lifted, plaster dust that settled over everything, including the couch, including the blanket Amara had to fold and refold each morning, and unfold again each night. They think they are breaking me, she thought. Lying on the couch in the evening after the workers had left, and the house was quiet and thick with dust. They do not know what I am building. They cannot see it because it is not in this house. It has never been in this house. It is somewhere else, growing, accruing, waiting. She had been building it for 4 years. She had been patient for exactly that long. Not because she was passive, not because she was afraid. Because the plan required time, and she had understood from the beginning that the kind of power she was assembling was not the kind that could be rushed. The next morning, Amara dressed carefully, packed her market bag and walked to the stall as she had walked to it for years before Darius, and during Darius, and she was going to walk to it after. "You look tired, Amara," said Esther, the woman who sold fabric 2 stalls down and had been doing so since before Amara was born. Esther was 60 years old and had survived 2 husbands, one who left and one who died, and a flood that had taken her stall's inventory twice, and she had rebuilt both times, and she missed nothing, and she said what she saw. "I am fine," Amara said. A woman with child should not look so tired and call it fine. "I am fine." "When you are ready to talk," Esther said, and her voice did not press, it simply opened. "I am here. I am always here." "Thank you," Amara said. No woman should carry her burden alone. It is not strength. It is just loneliness with a different name. Some burdens are mine to carry alone, for now. Amara arranged her tomatoes and began the day. She sold from 8 until 3. She counted every bill with deliberate care. She divided the money the way she always divided it. A portion for the household, a portion for herself, and a larger portion that went into a separate account whose existence she had never mentioned in that house. Not once, not even in passing. Into that account for 4 years, she had been wiring money in amounts small enough to be unremarkable and consistent enough to become significant. She was not saving, she was building. There is a difference. She came home that evening to find Monique standing at the kitchen door with the posture of a woman waiting to deliver a message. "You're back. Good. The kitchen needs cleaning before morning." "And yet the house still stands," Amara said, walking past her. "I have been working all day." "So have I. Clean the kitchen, Amara." Darius appeared in the hallway like a man who has stepped into a room and immediately regretted it. "I need to speak with you," Amara said. "I'm busy." "It is about our child." "What about it?" "Where will I sleep with the renovations destroying the living room? The couch is covered in plaster dust. There is nowhere." Couch, same as always, dust doesn't harm anyone. There is no room left for me here. Then there is no room for you. 3 days later, a car Amara did not recognize pulled up outside the house in the early afternoon, and Patrick got out. Patrick Adebayo had known Amara since she was 18 years old, since before the market stall had her name on a sign, since before she had learned to hide things in the folds of her wrapper. He was a paralegal at the firm of one Collins Adeyemi, a sharp-minded lawyer who had never lost a property case in 11 years and who had been quietly building a case of his own for the last 4. Patrick, Amara said, you shouldn't be here. I came to see the house they built on your back. I wanted to look at it. Don't. How long have you been letting this go on? Until it is time. Amara, when is that? He pushed a manila folder through the gap in the gate. The folder was thick and heavy. It had been organized with the precision of someone who understood that what was inside it was meant to be used as a weapon. Sign these. Collins collects them Friday. What is this? Freedom of a particular kind. The baby needs a mother with a clear legal status. Read it. There are big words. Collins is a good lawyer, Monique said from the veranda. She had materialized the way she always materialized, silently at the exact moment she was least wanted. She held a copy of the same documents in her hand, a copy that had apparently been in the house long enough for her to have read every page twice. The respondent shall receive no settlement, she said, reading aloud in the pleasant voice of someone who has practiced this. You came with nothing. We are not wicked. You keep your basket. Tomatoes for a market woman. The marital home, sole property of the petitioner. The house stays in the family, as it should be. The baby needs a proper home and a proper family, and that is exactly what it will have. This house is not yours to give away, Amara said. And whose is it? Tell me clearly. The market woman owns my house? Put it in your mouth and say it out loud. The market woman owns my house. Go on. Put it in the papers, Amara said quietly. The company, the cars, the house, the registration, every account. He made a list of everything he has taken. Let him keep making his list. He doesn't know what he made. A list of everything that was never his. Sit, sign, and go in peace, Collins said, having followed Patrick through the gate and arrived at Amara's side with a pen in his hand and the confidence of a man who has done this before. It's a good pen. You can keep it. Consider it a parting gift from the household. Friday is tomorrow, Darius said. Sign today and sleep properly tonight. You need the rest. I'm not signing. Think of the baby. I came for a question, not a pen, Amara said, and she walked back inside. Friday is tomorrow, Darius said again, to the door that had closed behind her. After that, I stopped being considerate. You stopped years ago, Amara said from the other side. He laughed at you today, Yvonne said, on the phone that night. I almost felt something in my chest, something that wanted to come through the phone. I had the soft way available to me. I chose my home. Then we do it the harder way, the way that takes longer and costs more and is the only thing left. I'm ready the moment you say. The kitchen is for family now, Monique said the next morning with the cheerfulness of someone who has won a round and is not pretending otherwise. Since you chose not to sign the papers, no signature, no food from this kitchen. Simple rules. I am carrying your family's child. So is Monique, so she says. So she tells anyone who asks. Where do you think you're going? To eat. Walk out that door, and it may not open for you the way you expect when you come back. 3 weeks after that, Amara walked back to the market. She had not been in weeks. The stall had been tended in her absence by Esther and 2 of the younger women who had grown up watching her work, who had learned the prices of things, the way to stack tomatoes so the bottom ones don't bruise, the particular pitch of voice that signals a price is final. Nobody had touched her inventory. Nobody had sold below her rate. They had watered the greens before the heat, covered the tomatoes with cloth at night, and kept her ledger in the same handwriting she had left it in. Amara, the woman named Grace, said when she saw her, "We thought something had happened. We kept it all. We didn't let anyone near it. Markets don't forget their own." "Thank you." "The woman at your gate, the one in silk, she told us you had retired." "I'm back." "Then sit first. Eat first. You are eating for two and you look like you have been eating for none." "When are you due?" 2 months. "Then stay here. Let us feed you for a while." On a Tuesday, Darius appeared at the market without warning. He came in the car he drove with her money, wearing the watch he had bought with her company's first dividend payout, and he walked down the market aisle with the expression of a man who has been told something embarrassing has happened and has come to correct it. "Your wife with the tomatoes," Monique had told him that morning. "Everyone can see her. They stop and greet her. They call her by name. Your name is on her and she is standing in a market stall. People will talk." Darius arrived with his car and his embarrassment, and the firm belief that presence was the same as authority. "So this is where you run to when things get difficult." "It's where you found me," Amara said, "before there was an office, before there was a company, before there was a letterhead with your name on it. This is exactly where you found me. People here know my name. They know my company. Pack up your things. Come with me. Buy something proper with this. You're embarrassing me." He held out money. She did not take it. "He thinks this is all I'm worth," Amara said later to Patrick. "He is wrong. But it is not yet time for him to know how wrong." "If you knock on my door, it opens any hour of the night," Patrick said. I know. She cleaned that evening, old rags, things that had accumulated in the corners of the couch, beneath the couch, on the windowsill near where she slept. She threw them all out and she felt lighter. And when she searched the folds of her wrapper, the one they had moved with her things but had not examined closely enough, she found everything. The phone, the documents, the folder of papers Patrick had given her months ago that she had kept folded in thirds and hidden in the print of the fabric, her baby's first clothing, wrapped in tissue. Everything was still there. Everything was still hers. From tonight, she said to herself, "This stays on my body. I sleep in it. I wake in it. Nobody takes it." The next morning, they set her to work before sunrise. Up early. The nursery needs to be aired before breakfast. Mama wants the curtains opened and the floors wiped down. "I know my list," Amara said. "And the water drums in the courtyard. Fill them before the workers arrive. Then the floors, then back to the drums, then breakfast, then the nursery again." Amara lifted the heavy plastic basin and walked toward the courtyard. The pregnancy was heavy in her body now. Not a discomfort she could ignore, but a presence, constant and full, like a second heartbeat that was always slightly ahead of her own. She walked slowly. She breathed the morning air. She lifted the basin to the first drum and began filling it by hand. And then she went down. The basin clattered across the tiles, and the water spread across the courtyard stone. And the sound it made was enormous in the early morning quiet, and it brought everyone running. She dropped the basin. She's performing. Pregnant women do this. They do it for attention. She'll get up when no one is watching. She was still on the floor. Her cheek was against the cold stone. The courtyard was still. What is this? How long has she been on the floor? Darius, if people see you carrying her out, the clinic will ask questions about the situation in this house. Stay awake. Stay awake, Amara. Stay with us. When did she last eat? Someone answer me. When did she last eat? She cooks. She always cooks for herself. That is not what I asked you. Blood type. You are her husband. What is her blood type? Yes, I'll call. Whatever she needs. I'm on my way. Whatever she needs. And if she asks who stayed with her at the clinic, nobody stayed. We don't need the questions. Nobody stayed. At the clinic, Amara opened her eyes slowly. The ceiling was white and very still. The room was quiet in a way of rooms where careful things are done. Her hands were on the bed, palms up and open, and they were empty. Your baby held on. Strong heart. The baby is strong. Who brought me? A private car came. The bill has been settled. Is there someone we should contact? Family? There was a sound from the doorway, a voice she knew better than her own. No one. She has no one there. Tell her I'm coming. Not yet, Amara said. You are lying in a clinic, Amara. You went down in a courtyard and no one helped you. I'm coming. And I'll be standing at the gala on Saturday. That is where it ends. That is the moment everything that was built in secret comes out into the open. Until then, let them celebrate. Let them think everything is going exactly as they planned it. Let them be comfortable. Comfortable people are not careful. Until then, let them celebrate. When Amara returned to the house from the clinic, Monique was sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of something cold, looking at her phone with the particular disinterest of someone who has decided not to acknowledge that anything significant has happened. That stove is not for you today. Mama said family only uses the kitchen. I'm cooking. You don't cook for yourself in this house anymore. That was decided. Watch me. The scene that followed was witnessed by two of Darius's business associates who happened to be seated in the living room that evening, men named Charles and Jerome, who had known Darius since university and who had both, separately, been carrying a growing unease about the things they had witnessed in this house over the months they had visited. Charles had seen Amara at the dinner party, standing at the kitchen stool while Monique sat in her place. Jerome had watched Darius dismiss Amara in conversation 3 times in one evening without looking up from his phone. They both sat in the living room now, and they watched Amara move through the kitchen with the quiet authority of someone who knows exactly where everything is, because she put it all there herself, and neither of them said a word because Darius was their boss. But they saw it. Charles, get up. That's my seat. Doctor's orders. Food, water, rest. Darius, she's taking the table. Let her eat. We all saw it, Jerome said to Charles in the car afterward. What happens in that house? He's a husband first and he's failing at it. I saw it months ago and I said nothing. He's our employer. But what we saw tonight, that wasn't discomfort. That was something else. Then one evening the accusation arrived. She pushed me this morning, Monique announced at dinner, her hand pressed to her own side with theatrical precision, her expression arranged in the specific way of a woman who is performing injury in front of an audience she has already prepared. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to make trouble. But she pushed me, Darius. I felt it. Right here. What happened? She came back from that clinic different. Fighting. She walked past me in the kitchen and she pushed me deliberately. I felt it in my stomach. I didn't fall, thank God, but I felt it. I never touched her. She'll deny it. She denies everything that doesn't serve her story. Then she's a liar, and a liar in this house gets nothing. You've been quiet all evening, Monique said to Darius later that night, when the house had settled and the lights were low. Just thinking, tomorrow is clinic day for her. She'll be gone most of the morning. That's enough time. Good. While she's at the clinic, new locks. Different key. We don't need to explain anything. She goes out. The door doesn't open when she comes back. It's simple. Clinic day, Monique said cheerfully the next morning, appearing at the door of the guest room where Amara was preparing herself and helping her with her jacket as if this were a kindness. Greet the doctor from us. Take your time. No rush getting back. I'll be back before evening. Drive safe, Monique said. Drive very safe. Her key did not turn. Amara stood at the gate in the afternoon heat and felt the key in the lock and felt the resistance and understood immediately what had happened. Her things had been put outside, the wrapper, the documents she always carried on her person, the small bag, collected and placed in a plastic bag by the gate as if they were refuse. She stood on the pavement and felt the full architecture of what had just been done to her. Not panic, not tears, not the noise of someone surprised. She had known this was possible. She had not known exactly when. Now she knew. Not like this, not begging at a gate, not on this pavement. She called Yvonne. They changed the locks. Everything I had inside, it's in a plastic bag outside the gate. Say it, Yvonne said. Say what you need. Come now, bring the family, everyone. Finally, Amara, I said any hour. Tomorrow, Amara said. Tonight, food first? Are you eating? Are you? Sit. I'll be there soon. The family landed that night. The gala is Saturday, Yvonne said the following morning. Over food she had made herself in the kitchen of the place they were staying. Business Person of the Year. West Oil Group Annual Gala. The company Amara had been quietly funding, share by share, wire by wire, through an account in her own name that she had never mentioned in that house, not even once. Tonight, my name gets spoken out loud. And when the silent investor arrives, Yvonne said, they will not know what to do with themselves. On Saturday evening, the ballroom was everything Darius had spent the last year preparing for. Crystal chandeliers, round tables laid in white and gold. The room full of the kind of people who believe that a room full of people like them is the correct shape of the world. Darius arrived with Monique on his arm, cream and gold, her posture engineered for the cameras that swept the entrance. Colleagues shook his hand. Board members congratulated him. He was, by every visible measure, a man who had made it. The market woman, someone whispered from the next table. I met her once, at the house. I've been thinking about it ever since. Tonight isn't about her. Forget that issue. Tonight we celebrate everything that was built. Then the chairman stepped to the microphone. Business Person of the Year, Darius Williams. Darius walked to the stage with the ease of a man who has rehearsed even his own breathing. He shook the chairman's hand. He smiled at the room. He adjusted the microphone. They always ask me my secret. My silent investors, I have never met them in person. They don't ask to be seen. They back talent alone. The vision, the work, the belief in what can be built from nothing. Me, believe in yourself and let go of whatever holds you back. That is the whole lesson. Applause filled the room. Before we close, the chairman said, returning to the microphone, tonight's gala has a primary sponsor. The true founding force behind the West Oil Group, our majority shareholder. She very rarely appears in public. Tonight she honors us with her presence. She has chosen tonight to claim her seat. Darius looked up from the award in his hands. Ladies and gentlemen, our silent investor. She walked in from the side entrance wearing a dress the color of midnight, cut perfectly, unhurried in the way of women who have been patient long enough that patience has become their natural speed. Yvonne was at her left. Patrick was at her right. She did not look at Darius immediately. She let the room see her first. Monique dropped her glass. That's not her. It can't be. He said she was nobody. He said she was a market woman. She's nobody. Steady, Patrick said quietly. I have been steady for 4 years, Amara replied also quietly. 4 years is long enough. Every naira of founding capital in the West Oil Group came from one silent investor. Tonight, she takes the seat that was always hers. There's a mistake, Darius said. His voice was too loud for the room. He stepped forward. I built this, every part of it. There is no mistake here. Someone has made an error. Mr. Williams, there is no error. Meet your silent investor, your wife. You saw tomatoes. Every time you looked at me, you saw a market stall. You're surprised now. You shouldn't be. You married me. You just never looked at what you married. Darius looked at Monique. He looked at the screen behind him. He looked at Amara. Mr. Williams says there's a mistake. Let him say it again. Let the room hear it. The recording played on the screen. My wife sells tomatoes. She's nobody. She contributed nothing. My silent investors are people who believed in my talent alone, my vision alone, me. The founding capital wired by Amara George, documented and verified. The company building, owned outright by Amara George. The family home, title deed registered in the name of Amara George. Every asset he claimed tonight, hers. You built nothing, Darius. Not one brick of it without my money. The company is mine. The house we lived in is mine. The car you drove to this building tonight is mine. You were a guest in my home from the first day you walked through the door. And you treated the owner like she was the help. You gave me this. She held up the bill he had handed her at the market, the one he had offered with the instruction to buy something decent. Take it back. It's everything you have left. Effective tonight, his access is revoked. Every account, every vehicle, the house, the office building, all of it. And then Monique gasped. Both hands went to her stomach. The performance arrived exactly on cue. The baby. Someone help her. Darius, the stress is too much. It's hurting the baby, our baby. Sit down, Monique. The ultrasound she presented last week, a woman said from the far end of the room, let's look at it together. On the screen, please. And here is the image from a medical stock photo website. Same image, same angle, same watermark. She forgot to crop out the corner. The room went very still. Darius, make them stop. It hurts, please. There is no baby. There never was. They hacked my files. They went into my medical records and they... Don't touch me. Step back. Our investigator spent 2 months, the chairman continued. Her name in Lagos, borrowed from someone she met once at a party. Her family background, invented. The people she claimed as relatives have never heard her name. I chose her, Darius said. The words fell into the silence of the room like stones. You chose the lie that made you feel chosen, Amara said. That is different. The baby. Ours is real, Darius said, turning to Amara. His voice had changed completely. It was stripped of everything, of the smoothness, the rehearsal, the confidence. 2 children mentioned in one night, Darius, and only one of them was real. And you never once asked about it. Not once. Not a single question about how I was. About the child growing in my body in that house where you put me on the couch. Please, Amara, please. I didn't know who you really were. I didn't know. You didn't know because you never asked. You saw a market woman and decided that was the complete picture. You stopped looking. You never asked about my savings. You never asked who owned the house. You never asked what I was doing with the money I earned every day. You assumed I was small and you stopped looking. I gave you one chance, Amara. One question. One thank you. That was all. You laughed. My daughter, Mama Cecile said very quietly now, much smaller than she had seemed all these months. I didn't know either. I truly didn't know. You didn't need to know my net worth to know that what was happening in that house was wrong. You watched him humiliate me in my own kitchen. You sent me to a stool while guests sat at my table. You put me on a couch while I was pregnant and told me to fold my blanket during the day because it was untidy. You gifted another woman the fabric that should have gone to me on my wedding day. You did not need a bank statement to know that a pregnant woman sleeping on a couch is wrong. You needed a conscience. Just that. Only that. The child will never need either of you. Come near them without invitation, and you answer to me directly. It had been 4 years. She had been waiting 4 years for the right moment to make this call. She was making it now. Then come home, Yvonne said. Madam, the car is ready. I don't call taxis, I travel on my own terms. New locks tonight, Amara said to the driver as they left. My key, my house. Nobody enters without my instruction. And this, she said, handing Patrick a bag. Leave it at the gate before you go. We don't need any of it. Everything in it can be replaced or forgotten. I built this crib with my hands, Yvonne said, lifting it carefully from the back of the car when they arrived at the compound. It stays. It goes nowhere. And these, Amara said, unwrapping the two small items from her wrapper. I sold these at the market from money I made myself. I kept them in this fabric they thought was just cloth. The only two things I'm carrying from the time I spent in that house. Everything else, let it go. Let it air out. Let it belong to no one for a while. Then they're the only things that matter, Yvonne said. The compound was full that night. Family from 3 cities. The market women who had kept Amara's stall, Esther, Grace, and 4 others. 2 board members who had known the truth for 6 months and had honored their professional restraint and were now releasing it in the form of tears they did not apologize for. Uncle Quam and Beatrice and cousins who had been told the whole story in installments and were only now seeing the end of it. You could live anywhere now, Yvonne said. The family compound is big enough. We can expand it. Or the house by the water you always said you liked. I bought the company I funded. I built this life. I am keeping both. And the market? When I feel like it, on the days when I want to. Because I choose now, that is the difference. The meter is running, sir. I used to live here, Darius said at the gate, alone, in the week after, when the new locks were on, and his name was not on any list of authorized persons. Everybody used to something, the guard said. That doesn't give you entry. Move away from the gate, sir. The baby kicked on the night they came home. Kicked the way babies kick when the world outside has finally become safe enough to be curious about. The next morning, at the clinic, surrounded by the women who had kept the stall, and the sister who had kept the faith, and the lawyer who had kept every document, a new voice declared itself into the air of a room full of people who were ready to receive it. How is she? Strong, both of them. The baby is loud and healthy and strong. He has her eyes. He has her chin. He was born in peace. He waited for peace, and it came for him. His name, Emmanuel George. Emmanuel George. And the father's name, for the record? George. Everything this child will ever need is already in that name. George carries the house. George carries the company. George carries the market, the early mornings, the counting of bills at a wooden table, the 4 years of patience, the wrapper full of hidden things. George is enough. The best quarter in the company's history was announced 6 weeks later. Madam Chairman, double the hospital fund and the market road budget. Build the road properly this time. Solid base, proper drainage, lights at night so the market women can walk home safely. The West Oil Group welcomes a son. Amara George welcomes a son. A son. She said it to herself first in the car on the way to the clinic before she said it to anyone else. I have a son. The number you have dialed is not in service. Good morning, sir. Access is not permitted. I'm the father. That is my son in there. My blood, let me in. There is no name for you on any authorized list. 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Let me see him. He is my blood. Whatever I did, he is still my blood. You had 9 months, Yvonne said from the other side of the gate. 9 months. 40 weeks. You never asked about her health. You never asked about the due date. You never asked what she needed. You removed her from her bedroom. You put her on a couch while she was pregnant. You locked her out of her own house. You laughed at her in public. You called her nobody. You called her a market woman like it was a sentence. A father is not what you claim. It is what you do. And what you did was nothing. That boy already has a name and it is not yours. One day he'll ask about his father, Patrick said softly. And I'll tell him the truth, Amara said. His mother kept him. His mother built the house he lives in. His mother funded the company that will pay for his education. His mother stood in a gala in a midnight dress and took back everything that was hers without raising her voice. That is the whole story. That is more than enough for any child to carry. That is a legacy. Emmanuel George grew up knowing both worlds, the market and the boardroom. He rode on his mother's back through the stall on Saturday mornings and sat at the end of the conference table on Wednesdays, watching the board meeting and asking questions that were too precise for a child his age, which made the board members smile in the way of people who are watching something that will outlast them. He learned to count from Yvonne. He learned to negotiate from Esther. He learned to read a legal document before he learned to ride a bicycle, because his mother believed that the most dangerous kind of ignorance was the kind that allowed other people to write your life in their own language. The world, she told him on a morning at the market when he was old enough to understand and young enough to still believe everything she said. The world does not ask you to choose between where you come from and where you are going. It only asks that you know the truth of both. The market is not beneath the boardroom. The boardroom is not above the market. They are both places where things of value are exchanged, and the only question that matters in either place is, do you know what you are worth? Emmanuel George, who had been born in peace and named for it, who had entered the world in a room full of women who loved his mother and would love him by extension and on his own terms, he grew up knowing exactly who he was, not because anyone announced it, not because it was given to him, because he had watched his mother every day for as long as he had eyes to watch with, and he had understood, this is what it looks like to know your own value. This is what it looks like to be patient. This is what it looks like to build something so quietly and so carefully that by the time anyone notices it, it is already finished, already yours, already real. And that was the inheritance. Not the company, though he would one day run it. Not the house, though he would one day bring his own family to it. Not even the wrapper, folded now in a cedar chest in the room where he slept. The wrapper with the document folds and still visible in the fabric, the one his mother had carried on her body through the worst of it. The inheritance was what it stood for, what it cost, what she chose not to surrender, even when the house tried to take it. Everything he needed was already in the name George, and he knew it, and he carried it, and it was enough.